All right, let's burn this taco stand. Hello, dear listeners, and welcome back to the James Bond Complex, the podcast where we discuss the James Bond phenomena in all its shapes and forms, from Fleming to the films and everything in between. Oh, I'm one of your hosts, Edgar.
And I'm Matt.
And this is a very, very special episode for so many reasons. We are, if I can be honest, I feel like we're doing our first true James Bond Complex episode. And there are many reasons for that. We have a guest on the show. I don't know if we've ever really mentioned him.
I think we alluded to him.
We probably alluded to him in the past. Goes by the name of Kim. Jason Kim. Jason, welcome to the show.
Well, hello. I'm glad to be here with you guys.
So, who is Jason Kim? How do we set this up, I guess? I mean...
I'm going to let you guys do the introduction. I think you guys could do a better job than I can.
Well,
starts last September 2017.
Yeah.
Something very special has us all converge, unbeknownst to one another. Something very special has us converge to Quebec City, which is somewhat of a major city in the province of Quebec. They have their film festival, the name of which escapes me. But
Festival de Film de Québec.
Voilà. And one of the events happening there last summer was a theatrical screening of Becoming Bond, which is the sort of semi-documentary, semi-fictional recreation of how George Lazenby gets the James Bond gig for On Her Majesty's Secret Service. And Lazenby was there in person for a Q&A and for some autographs and some pictures. And we all saw the film, although not together, but it was while waiting in line after the movie, because we all had stuff to get signed and we all wanted our picture taken with George. We're obviously on a first-name basis with him. Hello, George. Hope you're doing well. And that's where we met. It just so happened that, you know, our trio was sort of bunched together in line. And I remember you had asked a really interesting Bruce Lee question because of the whole Bruce Lee story and the potential movie they were going to make together with George. And you were talking about how your collection and who you had met, and you had met Roger, and I was the first Bond I was meeting. I had never met any of them, so I was excited.
I met Daniel as well too.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for chipping in. And it's sort of just a friendship, sort of just blossomed on the spot, which often happens when people who love something as much as we love Bond. Happens and so there's actually me and Matt see each other fairly regularly. This is in person. This is technically only the second time we see Jason, but over the past 11 months we've been talking a lot over Facebook, just talking Bond and just shooting the shit usually. Yeah. So we figured you had announced, it would have been about a couple months ago or something like that, you were spending Labor Day weekend at Station MC, Montreal, Canada. So we said, well, I guess we need to do a show here. So you are officially, you're the third co-host of this show.
I'm honored.
As you should be. So I guess, do we want to do like this mini interview style, which will probably branch off to a bunch of Bond topic conversations anyways.
It's probably going to be like almost like a second Bond debriefing.
Oh, I'm sure we'll touch Bond 25 in some shape or form. And everything in between. Ooh. During this episode, I have no idea how long we intend this episode to be. We'll probably cap out about half an hour, 40 minutes, something like that, because we do have an actual review to do.
Yeah.
So, Jason, why are you a James Bond fan?
I've always been a Bond fan, and if you guys, I'm not sure if I've ever told you guys this, but one of the first movies I've ever seen in my life, when I was still living in Korea at the time, was Spy Who Loved Me.
Is that so?
It is. Because I remember when I first watched the movie, I was amazed when the Lotus Esprit came out of the beach, and I was like, oh, wow, that's just something out of the miracles. This is what movies are made out of, special effects at its finest. When I watched it in Korea at the time, I didn't know it was a Bond film. I didn't know what James Bond was. This was probably like late 80s, probably early 90s, because I was about five at the time. And many years later, when I was officially introduced to James Bond, when Tomorrow Never Dies came out, and around the same time when Tomorrow Never Dies came out is when GoldenEye came out on N64, and all my buddies at the time were playing multiplayer with that. And since then, at the time, after I got introduced through those two elements, I used to go to Blockbuster or Hollywood Video back in the day when those two enterprises existed and were profitable. And And I, rented out almost every Bond movie with my parents, not in any chronological order. It was mostly by availability. And when I came across Spy Who Loved Me, my mom told me how she watched it when she was in high school at the time, because it came out in '77. And when I rewatched this movie, like with full awareness and in its full entirety, I was like, wait a sec. I watched this movie.
I've seen this car come out of the water before.
It's not the first Bond movie I saw. It's one of the first movies I've ever saw. And since then, I've always been a fan.
That's a great story. Just the fact that it's the first movie you've ever saw just warms my heart so much.
And I'm not the only person who says this. Both Christopher Nolan and Elon Musk said the same thing. And they were both inspired by just the magic of special effect of the Lotus Esprit coming out. And we'll talk more about my fandom of The Spy Who Loved Me much later in the next episode. But
this is one of 2 episodes featuring Jason this afternoon or this month, whenever these things go up. Mm-hmm. So that's fantastic. I guess we'll maybe go through the usual, just maybe 2 or 3 questions. So would you? Is the fact that The Spy Who Loved Me shaped your love for Bond so much, does that make it your favorite Bond film? Do you have a favorite Bond film?
Oh yes, I don't think I can pinpoint one out of the 24 films.
It's tough.
But if I always had, at the moment, whenever people ask me what my favorite Bond film is, 2 movies I always come back to, and the director Edgar Wright also says the same thing too. It is The Spy Who Loved Me and Skyfall.
They're fantastic films.
Great choices.
I know. I don't think you're going to get any arguments from many people.
And I always notice that typically from all 6 actors so far, or 3 out of the 6 actors, the third time was the charm for.
Yeah, the third movie is usually the definitive movie for that actor, the one that sets his character and sets more the audience's reaction to him. Like Pierce Brosnan was The War's Not Enough, and that movie is what it is. But Goldfinger definitely is the definitive Connery. And so is The Spy Who Loved Me for Roger Moore. This is. Well, we'll get there in a couple of minutes. But
and Skyfall for Daniel.
Yeah, Skyfall for Daniel.
I'm not sure about that. I mean, Skyfall was extremely well received and still is lauded till this day. But I think if you poll people, if we put a Twitter poll, which maybe we should, is the definitive Daniel film thus far Casino Royale and Sky? I think Casino Royale would come out on top.
Depends on who you ask, because when I ask people from different regions of the world, I guess most people still see Bond as an action hero than a British icon. So when you ask people like in the North Americas, the typical answer I typically get is Casino Royale. But when I'm overseas, and you guys could talk about how much I travel overseas.
Basically, you're our resident James Bond.
Thank you. And but whenever I ask people overseas, in France, the Netherlands, Germany, and definitely, and pretty much it was unanimous when I was in the UK. Skyfall. Everyone always pinpointed Skyfall as the definitive Daniel Craig movie. And one reason I saw that was I don't think it was just a good James Bond film, which it was. I mean, it won the best British film at the BAFTAs for a reason. It was a lightning in a bottle moment because it was the Queen's 60th Jubilee year in 2012. The London Olympics were going on, so the Eon production didn't have to spend much on marketing. So
fair point.
So Britain was at an all-time nationalistic pride, and so a lot of people.
There's also the franchise's 50th anniversary.
Oh yes,
so a lot of like the stars aligned almost. It seems to make that one as popular. Thankfully, it's a good movie. Yeah. That helped.
And thankfully, it was a good movie. I mean, I always say, even if it was as bad as Die Another Day, which came out on the 40th anniversary, that movie, Skyfall would have done financially well, but because of the lightning in a bottle moment, it went on to becoming, at the time, the 7th highest grossing film of all time. I don't know what it is now, but it's still the highest grossing Bond film of all time, even after inflation is taken, which I thought was very intriguing.
It topped Thunderball, I think, for S's in seat.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Thunderball was the...
Oh, is Ticket Sold? Skyfall's taken number 1?
Oh, for sure.
Oh, yeah. I thought Thunderball still had that. Okay.
Skyfall... Oh,
wow. Okay, man.
Even with inflation, I think it beat it. Not by much, I think, but it's still...
Ticket Sold.
Ticket sold, profits.
Really?
Whatever. I mean, like I said, that movie... I know some people dislike the movie for other reasons too, but many people saw Skyfall as a very definitive British film, so that's why many will point towards Skyfall being the definitive Daniel Craig film. Yeah.
Oh, you know what? I have no arguments from me. Casino Royale or Skyfall. That's two quite. What's the definitive Daniel film, and what's the one I like more? I don't know what my answer to either of those two is, to be honest.
I think probably it's most people. If you did a survey, would probably be a 50% Skyfall, 50% Casino Royale. It's probably 50-50. My guess is, but a lot of people, people who are Bond fans still say, "Oh, Skyfall." Mwah. I asked them about Casino Royale, and they're like, "Eh." I'm like,
really?
Yeah, people.
What kind of freaks do you hang out with?
Well, I had a friend. He said he didn't like it. I was like, "We're talking about the ones from the 1950s, the one in the 1960s, no, the one with Daniel Craig."
I actually know one or two people that are too good, but then again, it's like going back to The Spy Who Loved Me. Like that's their jam. So if it's the moment's a little too serious, they sort of tune out. That I can actually understand. That's like a logical reason why maybe you wouldn't why you wouldn't fall in love with Casino Royale, which does take itself mostly seriously.
But it works as it's a soulful picture. It's a lot of contemplation, and I can see why people might say that's their favorite. It's the definitive Craig one.
Oh, for sure. Because I remember when I rewatched that film with both my mom and my sister at the time, they were shocked when I guess like around midpoint when they're finally in Montenegro. What's said in Montenegro, not Montenegro itself, because I know that you guys won't know. But anyway, when Vesper and Bond finally start meshing and having good chemistry, both my mom and sister were very shocked. They're like, they asked me in the middle of the film, they're like, "Hey, are we actually watching a Bond film, or are we watching a romance drama?" Because like this is actually really well done. Like especially
this is actually a good one.
This is because whenever you think of Bond girls, you always think of the disposable woman. I mean,
sadly,
and a lot of the quote unquote the bimbos of the 60s,
the Mary Goodnights of the franchise.
Yeah, who I have a connection with, by the way.
You did mention that off air. I mean, I think the listeners have to understand something. This goes beyond the fact that we all met as we were lining up to meet George Lazenby. Jason is a special person, world traveler. The stories, you told us a lot of stories before we hit record. Not necessarily Bond related, but some of them were, some of them weren't. But just about the places you've been and the people you've seen. But yeah, you just seem to have, like, you were at a hostel, which you can see in the background in Tomorrow Never Dies. You know someone whose aunt is Britt Eklund. You were a hair away from seeing Maud Adams a few weeks ago. You have, like, the most, like, awesome tangential or sort of, like, semi-direct, like, links to James Bond. It's exciting. I feel like we have someone from the franchise on the show, actually.
Just looking at your Instagram picture, it just makes me salivate with the locations that you visit, Lake Como, Peace Glory that you mentioned. I don't know if I saw your pictures, but I mean, if you want to tell people your Twitter handle, your Instagram handle, so you can follow you, because you post a lot of good pictures.
Oh, thank you. I mean, I'm still working on my photography skills.
And so modest as well.
I'm not that. I'm still working on that, but. Not to divert too far, but I really enjoyed, just as much as going to as many Bond locations, I really enjoyed climbing to Preikestolen in Norway, where the Mission Impossible Fallout finale was filmed as well, too.
We don't talk about non-Bond franchises on this show.
Oh, we don't.
No, we probably should. We've actually had conversations behind the scenes about maybe talking about either Fallout or the series as a whole in one episode. We had a Batman. No, what?
Yeah,
Gotham City Detour.
The Gotham City Detour.
So we might have a. Should you choose to accept it, detour? It's a little long-winded. I don't know.
IMF connection.
I guess maybe.
No, I think they're two separate franchises. There are definitely a lot of connections from those two franchises, and
for sure. I mean,
I think if you guys ever want to do an episode, you guys should do one just on Fallout, so it doesn't divert too far. Because like that,
it is 6 movies. Talking about like reviewing 6 movies in inside an hour or an hour and a half would be kind of tough.
But I think Fallout has enough talking points as itself.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, I went to all the places. Norway specifically this year, but I've been to London and Paris. I haven't been to New Zealand, but you know.
What part is in?
So in the climax scene, the hospital clinic.
Oh, that's New Zealand. Oh, it's filmed in New Zealand. The movie, there's somewhere else.
But the helicopter chase where Tom Cruise is doing the spiral, I was like, man, I have no words for him, but just pure amazement. But
I know. Did you see it on IMAX?
I did.
Yeah, we saw it on IMAX too.
It's gorgeous.
Jeez Louise.
But seeing Precastone in real life was better.
Well, I'll take your word for it. That I have no trouble believing.
I mean, you guys saw my pictures, so.
Oh,
yes,
yeah.
we did.
I personally didn't dangle off a rope on the side of the Precastone like Tom Cruise and Henry Cavill did it. But I put my foot off the ledge and people thought I was crazy.
You sat on the same soil.
Yeah.
Or you stood and you sat on the same soil as Tom Cruise and Henry Cavill. So
Yeah.
Superman and Maverick fought.
Absolutely. I mean, that's already more than we've done. I guess getting back to Bond, so of the 6 official actors that have portrayed the role, do you have a personal favorite, and why?
Roger will always have a place in my heart. Because people give him criticism for his lack of seriousness, but if you actually examine the way he portrayed the role, it was actually very brilliant because he was the first successful actor to take on and move the series forward from Sean Connery. Not even Sean Connery, when he returned twice, could do it himself. So
those are great points. God bless you, Roger.
It's true that he allowed the series to expand beyond just the limits of the 1960s. Because, I mean, we're going to talk about Spy, The Spy Who Loved Me, but that's definitely a 1970s movie. But it's a great spectacle. It's not like it was released the same year as Star Wars. And it's a grand spectacle movie, and this performance, we'll get there when we get there. But I see what you mean. But the fact that he was able to make the franchise evolve and continue, and even when you compare, we've been doing the books. His portrayal is not that far off from the books, especially the Spy Who Loved Me novel. He's pretty jokey in that particular book. I don't know if you've read any of the Fleming.
Oh, I have, and they're a lot more darker. Roger will always have a special place in my heart, as many Brits will say, but I would say from the 6 actors, Daniel Craig is my favorite. I mean, for various reasons, in terms of his portrayal, his dedication, and this is my personal favorite, but it's not going to apply to everyone else, but he was the first actor, if not, he was the first actor maybe since Roger Moore, or the only actor who's actually actively came to Korea to market his Bond films. And when he came to Korea, when he was doing the press interviews for Casino Royale, he didn't give any scripted answers. He gave very genuine answers, and he listed his favorite Korean movies at the time. Which you got to remember, Daniel Craig is not
he's not Korean.
He's not an A-list actor, but he came from a very indie film background, so he understood the critically acclaimed Korean movies and the ones that were kind of like off the market, and he was able to name all of them and describe them really well. So that really caught my attention.
Do you remember which some of the ones he named?
He named Old Boy, which was kind of obvious because this is 2006
at that time,
and he named like Sympathy of Lady Vengeance.
I do like that one. That one actually might be my favorite of that trilogy.
Okay. And he named another one called Memories of a Murder, which most people outside of Korea wouldn't know. And I was like, wow, this guy. I was like, he actually knows his stuff. And so
that one, I know that title, but I can't.
It's a
claim to have seen it though.
I mean, it came out in 2002, so it was like when Korean cinema was kind of like
finding its wings internationally.
Yeah,
almost.
international. So it was like mostly known only in Korea. So
that's awesome. And would you say is there a Bond film that you maybe would put at the bottom of the list?
Oh,
Not
absolutely.
to get too. Absolutely. Oh my goodness, ladies and gentlemen, please listen in.
Die Another Day, without a question.
We haven't we have a little way to go before we review that one. I don't know when we're going to do that one.
How are you guys doing this anyway? Like the way the books were written chronologically, titles were chronologically.
Yeah, that's
alphabetically the titles.
Oh, okay.
So we're doing the films in the order of the books were released, but after The Man with the Golden Gun, we haven't decided. I know we're probably going to do Colonel Sun.
Yeah. We're thinking of Colonel Sun being. It's the obvious one. The first post Fleming
There's
episode.
also the authorized biography I really want to do.
You've been saying that a lot. Actually, I have a copy. You must have a copy somewhere too. I'm guessing.
Actually, I know, but I want to get the same one you have. There's a pretty blonde lady on the cover.
Has a interesting upgrade, if you can call it an upgrade of Honey Rider. But yeah, so may we pry for more information? What is it maybe about Die Another? Of all the movies, Jason, you could have selected to put them at the bottom of the list. Why, in heaven's name, would you choose Die Another Day? Please.
As an engineer, you guys never mentioned I was an engineer, but automotive engineer. But I wasn't too bothered by the Invisible Vanquish as much. I mean, some of the CGI was terribly done.
Yeah.
Well, CGI. The funny thing about CGI, it has trouble aging sometimes.
And it's overdone. I think it's the same company that did the first Harry Potter, and if you rewatch that movie, the CGI is horrible. It's the same company.
Yeah.
But anyway, I mean, I felt like the movie did come out at the 40th anniversary. I'm not going to lie. When I watched it with my dad at the time, when I was in 8th grade, when it came out, I enjoyed the experience, but not the film itself.
Yeah. No, I can probably understand that. It would sort of be like it's sort of like show up to a Bond premiere, and oh wow, you're in London. Oh, there's famous faces there, and oh, it's a great night. It's a great night to do. Then you finally see the movie, and you're like, well, yeah, whatever. But it was great being in London for the premiere. Maybe one of those things. But yeah, there's some weird stuff in that movie. It's almost in a perverse fashion. I'm almost like really excited to do that one, just because we're gonna have so much to talk about.
The weird thing about that movie is that it's more or less Moonraker, and
I thought Moonraker,
the book Moonraker.
It definitely was. It was definitely a lot more closer to the Moonraker novelization with the way the villain was categorized. And speaking of which, that's one of the reasons why I really dislike the movie, because the way Toby Stevens, that actor's name, right? His Korean pronunciation was really awful.
You would know. That's true. You would know.
But it wasn't just him. Even the quote unquote the Korean actors were terrible, just as terrible too. So I was like, I can't do this anymore, guys.
Isn't
Rick,
is he not? I mean, he's from the United States, yes, but
he's Korean American.
Yeah. Okay. Well, maybe English is his first language. I mean, it's like
the Eon is a $14 billion franchise. I don't think it costs that much to hire an actor who could speak proper Korean.
Yeah, they probably the negotiations would probably be pretty short. Do you want to be in the next Bond movie? Yep. Where do I sign?
And maybe this is kind of going off tangent, but maybe as a Korean, like a lot of way Western media, not or specifically Hollywood, portrays North Korea isn't very accurate. It's not always the Mad Men and stuff, and if you actually watch Korean cinema, specifically the ones that deal with the North and South Korean tension, the ones that are always successful, usually doesn't specifically set North Korea as the adversary of the film, but it's usually behind the powers that's always set as the adversary. So I don't think Hollywood and Hollywood screenwriters really understand the tension well enough to put it into a movie. So that's another reason why I dislike the movie. And the movie also came out at the 40th anniversary, and I felt a lot of the homages were too forced in than feeling organic as they were in Skyfall or Spectre. For instance, in the plane's climax in Die Another Day, the North Korean henchman just pops out and makes Pierce Brosnan's Bond misfire his gun, and the airplane goes into what's that? Turbulence mode.
Turbulence, yeah. That's
and
right.
and that was a clear homage to Goldfinger, but I felt that was a little too forced, and it was just like
you thought that one was too forced.
Just the Q lab sequence is just look at all this old stuff we have in the background.
That one I actually didn't mind.
I actually didn't mind that at all.
It's for me. It's the other Goldfinger reference. The lasers everywhere spinning. Like, why would there be a button
on
that machine for the lasers to shoot everywhere? Why are there so many lasers?
That too.
It's the guy who brought us Triple X State of the Nation.
Okay.
Another great movie.
Ice Cube.
Yeah, with Ice Cube.
Yeah. You know, like when I watched that movie, my initial reaction was, when did Joel Schumacher start making Bond movies?
It's true. It is like a Joel Schumacher Bond movie.
I could appreciate if someone actually was confused by that. I can actually see that.
So you brought up an element I wanted to question you about. Since you're not an automotive engineer, so which Bond car is, in your personal professional opinion, either the best or the most possible, or which one do you want to own?
What I want to own? Actually, as an automotive engineer, I think the most brilliant one is definitely the DB10 in some terms of engineering, the design, the weight, the lightweightness of the car, its use of carbon fiber. Because I saw it in person in London.
It's so
great,
sexy.
Great acceleration, and it's still a manual. So, but
it's my personal favorite, actually.
It's one of my favorites, and I know I'm in the minority, but I thought this car chase scene in Spectre was brilliant, because a lot of the stunt sequences in that film is what I do for a living. So it was realistic, so that's why I liked it. And you got
interesting,
and you got to see all of Rome in no way. I mean, who else? What other? Do you honestly think the Vatican will let any other film or film franchise film there, let alone drift in the Vatican Square like that? So, I mean, I thought the chase sequence was brilliant, and
it certainly made. It's a little weird that the streets are empty. It's Rome after all, but it certainly looks beautiful at night. Having been there, Rome is. You're not the only one that's traveled. I've been to Rome.
I have too.
It is a beautiful city, and it's a beautiful city at night. So I do remember that sequence looking very, very beautiful. I still could not wrap my head around the fact that the streets were totally barren, but it looked very nice.
No, at nighttime it kind of becomes a little more empty. The only qualm I had was when he unfortunately crashes the DB10 into the Tiber.
If you're worried about the car, parked it at the bottom of the Tiber.
And he presses the ejector seat and Daniel does a very brilliant Roger Moore moment later on. I was like, man, I remember there being a nightclub at that scene. What happened to the nightclub? Because I went to that nightclub
That's where Bond went. That's where he's relaxing after this stressful chase.
But that nightclub disappeared in that movie. But besides that, I thought the chase was brilliant. But the one car I would love to own, it's still one of my favorite Bond cars of all time. And there are two. The first is, they're not in any categorical ranking or anything, but the first is obviously the Lotus Esprit, because I think that design, which was very similar to the Lamborghini Countach, was a very 70s design, very Italian too, because it was filmed in Sardinia. I have the designer's name for you, by the way. He didn't himself design it, but it's similar to Marcello Gandini's design of that very spaceship streamlined design look.
It's funny. I was at the Montreal Auto Show. There's a Montreal Auto Show that happens in January. It's like the only thing that happens in this town. There weren't many Lotuses, but there were one or two, and even the modern ones, you can sort of see a little bit of the esprit in there. There's like, it's more maybe a little sleeker, but yeah, they're still adhering to that template sort of.
Yeah, because I really like that 70s design that not just Lotus took the Marcello Gandini's design, but the Lamborghini Countachs, some of the Ferraris, Pininfarina, if I remember correctly, they took that kind of like the spaceship, very streamlined design, and that's what I liked. I mean, it's very uncomfortable. It's very uncomfortable to get into, and it's not the most user friendly car to drive, especially when you're driving backwards, because of all the blind spots. But,
yeah, that's the thing. I mean, it's.
And the second car, the one car I would love to own was Timothy Dalton's Aston Martin Vantage.
That is a good one. Yeah, I do like that one. That's a good one.
That's my favorite.
Oh, it's your favorite?
Yeah.
I didn't know it was your favorite.
Because I don't know. It's one of the first one I saw, and just the thing with the skis and all the gadgets, the features it had, like it caught my imagination.
Oh, even without the gadgets, I thought it was an excellent car.
I'll believe you.
No, I mean, it looks from a visual standpoint. I mean, I'm not a mechanical engineer. My apologies, Jason. But certainly just as aesthetics go, I actually think it's a really nice looking car.
It's aesthetically
It's a very
pleasing.
it's shaped like a muscle car, but it's not a muscle car.
Exactly. Yeah. No, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. I guess we've been rolling for a little over half an hour.
Let's bring a big subject that's going on. We already did our Bond debriefing. This is probably coming up this Wednesday, so it's going to be George Lazenby's birthday. But Bond 25, thoughts, opinion, feelings, go.
Hit us.
You know, contrary to everyone's assumptions, as much of a Bond fan I am, I personally am not too thrown off by the potential delay. I think it will be a delay. I think it still could meet its 2019 deadline, but I think it will eventually be a delay, knowing how Hollywood production cycle goes. And I may have said this before because I'm a world traveler.
I like how he prefaces it because I'm a world traveler.
I won't. If Bond 925 is delayed, then I won't have the pressure of attending another premiere. So, because if I were to attend another premiere, that's 5 days I would have to devote to London in November.
You live
or October.
Really hard life, Jason.
In October, actually, because don't get me wrong. Like when I went to the Spectre premiere 3 Halloweens ago, that was one of the.
Must have been awesome.
Oh, it was excellent. It was one of my 3 favorite Halloweens of my life. I mean, I think Halloween's my favorite holiday in general, but that was one of the top 3 Halloweens of my life ever.
Nice. Quite fitting because there's the whole Day of the Dead theme going on in that movie.
And then the after party was at the British Museum with all the Day of the Day scaffolds.
Not at the National Arts Gallery?
No, the British Museum.
Oh, which one is that?
That's the one where the real Rosetta Stone is.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Gotcha.
Which is also an excellent museum to go to.
Yeah, I don't think I actually went to that one when I was in London.
I went to because I've seen everything in London, but I always don't get me wrong. When I say I'm not too thrown off by the delay, don't get me wrong. I love London as a city. I would love to go back. I mean, I will go back. Let's put it that way. But I would rather spend 5-6 days going off to another place I haven't been.
No, I feel you. I did fall in love with London. I think it was New Year's 2015. I celebrated that in London. So we're coming on to 4 years ago. So it's still fresh in my mind. I absolutely loved it. Like from day one, I fell in love with that place. And the reason I'm sort of coming from the opposite, I'd like to know your thoughts, but I really don't want there to be a delay because in my mind for like months I've been like, yes, great excuse to go back to London. Bond 25 premiere. And now it's like, it might be another year.
And then another topic was there's a lot of great directors out there. It's not the end of the world that Daniel Boyle left because I think there's a lot of great talent in Britain specifically, in just showbiz in general. And the 3 directors that I would love to see direct a Bond film are Edgar Wright, David Mackenzie, which he's one of the front runners, but
What has he done?
he's done Hell or High Water.
That's the one I heard. Yeah. That's the one I heard.
And then
it's a good movie.
I haven't seen it, but I heard good things about it.
And he did another British film prior to that, which was also excellent. So he definitely understands kind of the British feel.
What was his other British film?
I can't remember. I can't recall the title.
I thought that was actually his first movie.
No. He's done films for a while.
Oh, okay. Jeez. I never heard of the name until Hell or High Water.
And then he's recently doing another film with Chris Pine again about Richard de Bruce, or Robert de Bruce, I mean.
Oh, I've seen pictures of that. Wow, and the Chris Pine looks really, really haggard and old in those pictures.
A very underrated actor, if you ask me, Chris Pine.
Yeah,
I'm a big Chris Pine fan.
Would be a good Felix Leiter.
He would be a good Felix Leiter.
Oh, the movie is called Start Up. That's what it was called.
Okay, I don't know that one. I guess I discovered him through Hell and High Water, which I actually liked a lot.
Which I did too.
It's on Netflix. I'll watch it. Promise.
No, it's an excellent movie. It's very well done, and also David Mackenzie's Scottish, so we could bring back the Scottish roots back to. And I also love Scotland.
I thought there was a third director. So Edgar Wright, David Mackenzie, excuse me.
I know what was the third director? Right, I had it in my. I mean, obviously the Chris Nolan.
Well, that's the dream.
That's the dream, but that's
fantasy.
That's not happening.
That's not happening. But Denis Villeneuve, who's up from Montreal, will
yes.
And if it gets delayed, maybe it can. Maybe it's enough time for Dune to be finished, and Denis Villeneuve can join.
Or Dune to be cancelled.
I don't know about that. That'd be a heck of a 1-2 punch. Readapt Dune, then go from that to a Bond set. Like, whoa, that's heavy material there. Or that's a heavy workload, I should say. I don't know. I do like Denis Villeneuve. He, obviously, being from the same, not just the same province, the same city as him. I've seen pretty much all of his movies, and he's a fantastic filmmaker. Like, what has he done that even though I might love, yes, this man should make a Bond movie. I can't really put my finger on anything.
But can you say that about any other Bond director?
I think what's special about, if we're going to put aside Forster and Mendes just for a moment, I think what's interesting about the Bond directors is that a lot of them are workmanlike, like they're good soldiers for the company. It's only, and I think we actually talked about this in the debrief earlier this afternoon. It's only as of Mark Forster that Barbara and Michael seem so steadfast on, well, we need a prestige director. We need to get someone that understands character and drama. Now, in fairness, Skyfall is a masterpiece, but I don't feel they should be obsessed with that. I mean, the reason why they got to celebrate a 50th anniversary is because of these talented, diligent, dutiful, good soldiers that were creative in their own ways, but they weren't Mark Forster's or Sam Mendes's. So I find it interesting that ever since, and you pointed it out, there's only one of those 3 movies that's really lauded. The other 2 are not lauded. So, like, why are they so obsessed with the prestige director?
I mean, I think that's just the way showbiz is going these days. I don't think...
I think you're right.
The whole like nepotism and promoting from within doesn't really work in today's showbiz. I mean, look at the Marvel franchises. Like, they don't really get a second unit director. Hey, make the next movie. They get directors of different realms. Some came from very critically panned realms, like the guy who did Doctor Strange. He didn't technically make any good movies until Doctor Strange.
He made one of the Hellraiser sequels.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like one.
I don't know what his background is. I'd never heard of him until Doctor Strange.
I don't remember which one, but that's his background.
And you get someone like Peyton Reed, who focused mostly on comedies. And now he did Ant-Man, which I thought he did a fantastic job, because I know, Edgar, you're not a huge fan, but I thought he did what the script told him to do, and that's all you can really ask from a director. And speaking of which, the original director of Ant-Man was supposed to be Edgar, right?
Yeah.
And he got kind of forced out, or he left on creative differences.
Right.
The same way.
That sounds familiar.
Just the way Daniel Boyle did. So a lot of people say, a lot of people are hesitant if Edgar Wright will take it because he knows how franchises work. But I think he do a fantastic job. First, he's already worked with 2 previous Bond actors.
Yep. And
he's written good articles about the Bond franchise himself.
Has he?
And to me, a key factor to making a good Bond movie is not just being a good director or working well with directors and good edits, whatever, but is to specifically understand the Bond franchise itself.
And I love the Bond franchise. Because, I mean, when you get some people that, I mean, the rumors that leaked or were whatever, the rumors that Danny Boyle wanted to kill Bond, or he wanted. Ridiculous. There was a lot of weird stuff that came out a couple of weeks ago.
We don't need to analyze fake news.
No, I know, but it's just that whether they're real or not, somebody believes somebody that said those things.
Tabloid fodder.
But it's just the like, if it's true, it's just absurd. If they're probably fake, but I mean,
I understand the point about Danny Boyle being a very independent-minded director. His filmography demonstrates that quite plainly. He's not a moron. He didn't go into that office saying, "You know what? I think we should kill Bond in this one." No, he's not stupid. I mean, we need those great journalistic investigators, A.J. Chowdhury and Matthew Field, the guys from Some Kind of Hero, the book.
Oh yes,
yeah. We need those guys on the case. We need them on the case. I want to find out what happened in those meetings.
Volume 2 of Some Kind of Hero.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. we got to remember we do have a Spy Who Loved Me review to do. Do we want to? I think is there anything? Is there a topic you want to broach?
I think, but realistic, I think Martin Campbell should direct because like he introduced it, so let's see him and another book. He introduced two.
Let's see, close the book.
Yeah, he see him close the book. Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, if I could like choose, I would say like Martin, you're doing this.
Martin Campbell, to me,
he can redeem himself for Green Lantern this way too.
Is he still trying to redeem
the Legend of Zorro is much, much, much worse picture than Green Lantern. I'll bat for Green Lantern.
Which one is the first one? Mask or Legend?
Mask.
Mask is
great.
Mask
Legend is an abomination.
Okay.
It's so bad. Legend. I came out of that screening angry. Like,
ouch. I don't think I've seen Legend.
There's two movies I came out and I was like pissed off because the movies this movie and Ang Lee's Hulk.
Oh, well, that's for the Marvel the Marvel complex.
So I think we're.
I guess we'll wrap up here, unless there's like just another Bond topic in general you wanna talk about.
Nothing. I think we covered quite a bit.
Yeah, we covered a lot of ground. We now that we know who Jason Kim is, we can actually do a review.
Yeah,
it would have been a little bit weird. Here's a Spy Who Loved Me review, and then introduce Kim, Jason.
Normally, we close this episode. The episode the week after is going to be the Spy Who Loved Me book, and Jason will be back with us for the Spy Who Loved Me, the movie.
All right. So we'll just share a little bit of our social media platforms right now. We have people everywhere. We're at the www.thejamesbondcomplex.com. Please join the fun on our Facebook page. Search for us at The James Bond Complex. We have a Twitter account at The Bond Complex. We have an Instagram account. Search for The James Bond Complex. Our good friends at Anchor.com are hosting us. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Obviously, please subscribe and download us on Google Play. And, of course, there's always good old iTunes. I'm an iTunes man. I've made my bed. I'm an iTunes man. So subscribe, put us in your feed, review, and give us a 5-star Golden Gun review. We always appreciate it. Me and Matthew are on Twitter individually. I'm at @OOPOP. That's the word _OH_pop.
I'm at Matoclair with 2 T's.
Oh, we have YouTube. That's the one I think I've done the old version so often, and YouTube is new. I keep forgetting that. We're on YouTube, so obviously just search for the James Bond Complex and subscribe and give us a few thumbs up there. That'd be nice. Jason, where are you? What's your social media presence?
Just mostly Instagram. I don't have Twitter or YouTube accounts.
Nor do you need them. As someone who uses them, you don't need
You don't need them.
So just as James Bond always returns, even in Bond 25, so too with the James Bond Complex with Ian Fleming's 1962's The Spy Who Loved Me. Merci beaucoup. À la prochaine.
Au revoir.
Au revoir.